Hey everybody, Mike Steele here with BBQ Champs Academy. Glad to have everybody with us tonight. We got a great show lined up for you from World Champ Mr. Brad Leininger with Gettin Basted. Great to have him on our show tonight. Also Mr. Johnny Dunn with Bourbon Cowboy Cookers, coming off a huge weekend this past weekend when winning the Hold'em and Hit'em contest. Over 100 teams was there, and wanted to get him on our show, see what he's got in store, where he's cooking next, and kind of pick his brain on what he did this weekend. So it's going to be a great show. Hopefully the weather holds out. We have had just a tremendous amount of rain these last 2 days. I think we've got close to 5.5, 6 inches of rain, and we're hoping that we don't lose our internet service. I saw it going in and out a little earlier today, so I'm hoping that we don't have any issues. As you come in, let us know. We always like to give a shout out to our loyal listeners. This guy's on vacation on a cruise in Mexico, and yet he's still the first one on. So thank you, Gordon, for being here. Chuck, we appreciate you being here as well. John, I hope you're doing well from the sloppy tundra. Yeah, I don't know if you're getting the rain or the snow, but I know one thing, it sure has been brutal up there as well. Glad to have you with us. Emlyn, thank you for being with us today from Ohio. Justin, we appreciate you joining us. Man, we got folks steadily coming in. Renee, we thank you for being with us tonight. F-Bomb Barbecue, thank you, brother. I hope you're doing good. Yes, I see you made the jump to YouTube. Appreciate you doing that. Sean, thank you for being with us all the way from Wisconsin. We got Chris on our YouTube channel all the way from Connecticut. David is with us tonight. Made it to YouTube. We appreciate it. We're trying to get everybody converted, so if you see these guys telling us that they've made it to YouTube, we do appreciate that. We are trying to make the switch eventually to having all our podcasts on our YouTube channel, and that way it makes it easy for you to go back at any point in time and find our podcast instead of having to scroll through all of our posts on Facebook. Jerry Miller, thank you for being here. Mike, looks like the rain's coming our way end of the week. I'm telling you what, you can have it because it's been way too much for us. So Brenda, thank you for joining us. Man, both of y'all on vacation and you end up coming on our podcast. We really do appreciate it. Efren, thank you for joining us today from California on YouTube as well. And Rockin' A Grilling Supplies, we appreciate y'all being with us today. Stephen Peacock, brother, thank you all the way from Saginaw, Texas, over there by the Dallas area. Looking forward to being able to cook with you again sometime this year. We've got several that's lined up on our schedule for this year that's over in East Texas, and always enjoy cooking with you, man. Got a chance to hang out with you in Denton, and it was a lot of fun. Hopefully we get to do a few more of them this year as well. As we've been making the mention for the last, I don't know, since the beginning of the year, we are going to be making a switch. We're hoping if we can get everybody switched over to our YouTube channel, and we're doing that just to kind of help with, like I said, finding any of our podcasts that we do. If you want to know where you can find us at over there, I'm fixing to drop a link in the chat, so make sure that you go over, and I just sent that over. That is the link directly to our YouTube channel. If you would, go over there and subscribe to our channel, and that way when we go live on YouTube, you'll be able to know, you can set it up where you'll get a notification and you won't miss any of our podcasts. So got folks steadily coming in. Let's see who else we got. Robert, thank you for joining us. And who else we got? I think I got everybody. Got about 31 folks on here already. Gonna give everybody just a couple more minutes. We're getting ready to go down to Lake Conroe, just north of Houston, Texas this weekend. Dennis Butterworth, the president of the IBCA, he has got a big competition that he is putting on down there. It's going to be awesome, 100% payback. Said it looks like he's got about 60 teams and going to have about a $15,000 purse. So we decided, hey, we are not doing anything. I haven't cooked since the first week in December. I wanted to go knock the rust off and go cook a little bit before I forget how to do it. And we decided that we're going to get out of Shreveport and go down there and go have a little bit of fun down there and cook, see what we can do in South Texas. I don't get to cook down there very often, and me and Brad were talking earlier, you know, he travels everywhere and does very well and wins a lot of competitions, and he kind of says the same thing I do, good food travels. So I'll just cook the same thing that I always do, don't change it up, and see what happens. Let's see. Sean, I just picked up the Raymond Patterson State class. Can't wait to learn a few things. I tell you what, Sean, you got a great one. It's an amazing class. And congratulations to Raymond. He went down to the shed this weekend. I think he had a second place stake A, 10th place stake B. Very good. I think there was 108 or 109 teams down there, and very happy for him. And a lot of good food down there. They had a great time. I've been wanting to go to the shed, and I've just never got my docket cleared where I could get down there. So we're hoping to get down there one day and just go down there, maybe at least do the rib cook-off. So I want to thank all of our partners for BBQ Champs. They support us week in and week out. The barbecue store, Gunnar Wilhelm Knives. David is just such a super guy. Daigle's Barbecue, rubs and sauces. Love Miss Gail down there. And Raider Red Meats out of Lubbock, Texas. If you're looking for meats to get shipped, she can definitely take care of that. Carries all the Prairie Fresh line as well. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our guest tonight. Let me get over here and get some of these comments off. Our first guest, Mr. Brad Leininger, Gettin Basted. Hey, brother, how are you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Man, I am doing great, other than the rain. If the rain would just chill out, it would be great. But, you know, I'll be crying for it probably sometimes this summer like we was this last year. It was 105 degrees down here and everything burned up. So I'll take it. How you been doing, Brad?
I'm ready for 105 again. I'll be real honest with you. I'm kind of tired of the cold up here, man. We've been dealing with, we had pipes burst in the restaurant, which we're dealing with that insurance claim. We had just all kinds of issue with the cold. We don't normally get that cold. I mean, we're in southern Missouri. We
Right.
get cold, but we don't normally get like sub-zero for very long. And this last week, where I was lucky enough to be out of town, thank goodness, but we had a lot of sub-zero temperatures for a long time, and we're redoing the restaurant right now because we got a little unplanned remodel. So
The Mystical Witch, did it mess that restaurant up or Getting Basted?
yeah, getting basted.
Getting basted.
Yeah, our main one. Yeah, so we had pipes. It's some pipes running up through the like the top floor, up in the attic, and those things froze up and popped. And so the ceiling, we put new ceiling in,
gosh.
new flooring in.
Yeah.
So we got a unscheduled. It's probably going to take us a month to get it all put back together. So.
Good. At least the only good thing is the downtime for Branson. So
it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, the reason we stay open right now anyway is just keep people employed.
Right.
And we've got insurance that'll help cover some of those paychecks. So that's really the only reason we're open is so our employees can pay rent and do everything else. So we're still going to be able to do that. So the timing of it could be worse for us for sure.
Right. Yeah, I know. I talked to several people and I saw it getting so cold, and I said, just leave your water trickling. If you have that water running just a little bit, and if it gets really, really cold, you better take the trickle a little bit more because that water will freeze if it ain't got enough water flow to it. So, it's a pain in the butt when it happens. That's for sure. So,
yeah, we had that, and we have like a bathroom that's upstairs in an office, and they had water running everywhere, but up there where they needed it. So
it's always that one pipe. So,
you always miss one. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to bring in our next guest, Mr. Johnny Dunn, Bourbon Cowboy Cookers. Hey, brother, how are you doing?
Howdy. We're doing well.
You doing? That's good. I know you got to be on cloud nine after your big weekend at Hold'em and Hit'em, coming off a huge weekend, winning that deal, Hold'em and Hit'em competition. What, 100 plus teams down there, Johnny?
There were 109 teams present, and some of them didn't make turn in. I think the cold weather kind of kicked their butt, the wind and the weather. It was a bit chilly and windy as heck, and it gave a lot of people trouble.
Yeah. Whenever you battle in the wind, it sometimes can be pretty bad, especially if it's raining on top of it. Y'all didn't have rain; you just had a lot of high wind and cold as all get out, didn't you?
No, if you look at the photographs at awards, my face was red. It was from the sun being out. It was sunny. It was beautiful.
Okay.
But it was, 20, 25 mile an hour winds and, gusts of 20, 25 miles an hour, and started out in the morning about 27 degrees. Of course, that's nothing to Brad, but
no.
they get a lot colder up there. But for that part of Texas, that's pretty cold.
Yeah. we was up in Branson the Christmas week, the 25th through the 31st, and it was cold. I mean, for like he said, they usually don't see sub-zero temperatures. It was 23, 24 degrees, 25 degrees in the morning. It was only getting up to like 38. I went in to visit Brad, and the one thing that's true form to Brad, if y'all saw my picture I posted the other day, I looked down and the guy's in flip-flops. I'm like, does this guy own a pair of shoes? Brad, do we got any shoes? I mean, when it got sub-zero, did you at least have a pair of sneakers on?
No, I wasn't here. Thank goodness. We were at the beach. So
That's right.
I always dress for where I want to be, right? Like I'm dressing not for the weather of where I'm at, but dressing for my mindset. So
there you go. That's right. You was on vacation.
Yeah.
You was on vacation.
Work outside or something. I'll put some shoes on, but if I'm gonna be inside, flip flops.
Flip flops. That's it. Yeah, you went on vacation and your luggage didn't show up. So yeah. We'll talk a little bit about. Let's talk just a little bit about. I know we made the comment. We saw you behind the register working. He's like, please post that because everybody don't think I work. So, but you are a pretty hardworking guy. I mean, we had a great time. We had your new sandwich shop that we ate at, Mystical Witch. Very whimsical. My wife told me to tell you hi. She absolutely loved the place and loved the sandwiches. It's the best Philly cheesesteak sandwich that we've ever ate. Tomato bisque was off the chart. We went to your other restaurant that you told us about, you Old English Pub. Is that what it is?
It's called the Downing Street Poorhouse, but the hotel there is the Old English Inn. Yeah.
Okay, Downing Street. Okay, I was looking at it and I found that, but I posted the wrong. I may have to go back and correct that. But very good food, best chicken wings that I ever ate. And first thing I asked you when I seen you that next day, were these cooked on a drum? Yep. So. And then you got Gettin Basted. You got some other things. So you're pretty heavily involved with a lot of restaurants in Branson, and
that's right.
It was absolutely amazing.
We had Celebrity Weekend, and we had you there, and then old Ernest Cervantes came by Mythical Witch as well, which I owe him dinner, and he snuck in. I didn't even know about it until later. So he always takes care of me when we're down there at Burnt Bean Barbecue. So I was trying to buy him a meal, and he snuck in and got out before I could do it. So it's cool.
Wow.
It's cool having it's cool having people in the barbecue community come by the restaurants, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, anytime that we can support any of our barbecue brothers in a restaurant, me and my wife are foodies. We love to go eat. We're always going to do it. I mean, I told her, I said, we got to go to Brad's place. I don't care what we do. We're at least going to go to a sandwich shop, support that. And we'll see if we can go. And when you told us about Downing Street, man, we took off and went over there as well. So, well, let's talk a little bit about your competitions. You are. I think there's a lot of people like, how does this man do it? So it doesn't matter where you go. I remember you went up to Massachusetts. I think the first time you cooked, you had the two high scores ever recorded. GC one day, GC the next day. I don't remember. I mean, it was like a first, a second, and a third or something. Next day, another first, second, first or something. It was just crazy that you just went up there in an area that you never cooked and just absolutely crushed it. And then you'll go to California, you'll go to Colorado, you'll go to Florida. What do you think it is that just makes you so dadgum consistent and so good no matter where you travel, Brad?
Well, I mean, I think you touched on earlier. I mean, good food travels, right? And so, make good food, hit tenderness and your flavors, in KCBS and in CBA and we're not trying to, the main thing is you're trying to make good, solid, down the middle barbecue that scores, and that'll do it anywhere. Now, don't get me wrong, there might be some very, regional variances and some stuff like that, but man, you make it taste good. You go in there and you do what you need to do, and it's going to score. It doesn't hurt that we have we got Barbecue Champs Academy, and half those guys are running Corey Mike's stuff up there on the East Coast, right? And we're teaching classes. We got people from all over the world that have come to our hot and fast class. So it doesn't hurt that we've kind of propagated that out, the barbecue league, some stuff like that, where people can get some recipes, and it's kind of made it so our flavors are out there already. Right. But just go out there and hit your marks, and then you just got to find the right judges, and that doesn't change anywhere you're at. So. Just go out there and turn in good food, and you're going to score no matter where you are.
Right. So your main focus then is always hitting tenderness, getting that right, obviously appearance, and then obviously good flavor. So do you tweak your flavor profiles a little bit, like from one area to another? Good food travels, and I'm with you 100% on that. But do you find that flavor profiles, in other words, maybe down up in Massachusetts, I've never cooked that far. Do they like it a touch sweeter or than compared to Florida, or do you just try to stay down the middle of the road and don't offend anybody?
I just try to stay in the middle of the road and do what I do. I mean, I'm sure there are, I just don't know what they are, right? And you can
Right.
hear, you'll hear rumors that, in Minnesota, you got to give them honey. And here, in Wisconsin, they like it tight. And blah, 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 blah. And man, I just know how to cook what I cook. Like, I don't know how to cook tight food, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? I mean, I don't like it when it's tight. So how the heck am I going to sit there and say, I'm going to leave my ribs underdone, turn them in because that's what I think the judges want in Wisconsin? No, man, I'm going to cook good food, get it rendered out, hit tenderness, and more often than not, it scores. Are there some variances? I'm sure there are, but I am also sure that I don't want to chase them, right? I know that my flavor profiles are good. I know my tenderness is right. Now, that being said, the one difference you will do is in Texas, you'll obviously, per sanctioning bodies, you'll cook further things.
Right.
That's honestly the main variation would be when you go down to Texas, you're going to take stuff a little more tender. But other than that, flavor profiles, everything else, I got a fourth at the Houston Rodeo with the saucy brisket, same thing I turned in KCBS. It's just turn in what I know is good and make it taste good and run with it. So.
Yeah. So there's your pro tip of everybody listening tonight. Just cook good balanced barbecue. Wherever you go, cook the same. And that's the same thing. I mean, I was sitting here looking at some of my stuff that I do. I cook the same brisket, been cooking the same brisket since 2018. I ain't changing it. It does good everywhere I go. And I've got a new chicken that I've been playing with the last 2 times. It's done pretty well for me. And I've got some pretty good ribs that are doing. I'm not, it's like you said, what am I going to go down there and do? I don't know what they want. So I'm just going to cook what I do. And if it's good, it'll travel. If it's not, do we change next time? I don't know, so...
And it's amazing how mental barbecue is, right? Like you have to believe in what you're turning in. If you don't think it's good, it's not going to score.
That's right.
So you've got to believe and you've got to like what you're turning in. And I always hear this. You always hear these, and invariably a lot of times it's not a very good cook that says it. But I can't stand my competition barbecue. To me, that's insane. Why would you turn something in you can't stand? I mean, that mindset. I can't stand. Well, find
100%.
something you like, because if you don't even know, like if you're tasting something you don't like and you're trying to fix it, and that's what barbecue is fixing it.
Yep.
And you're turning in something you don't like. Well, there's no way you can be consistent. There's no way you can score with it. You've got to find something that you like and turn it. Now, maybe is it your favorite? Maybe you don't like that, but I mean, within the realm of competition barbecue, turn in flavors that you like.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, people like, I can't eat my barbecue. Man, I can eat my brisket. Give me 2 or 3 slices of brisket. Give me 2 or 3 ribs, and I am there all day long knocking it out. I love my barbecue. It's and because I think it's probably kind of like what you're saying. It's kind of balanced. It's not one thing sticks out over the other, and I think that's what makes good barbecue travel. And kind of keeps it consistent where you're not offending anybody.
Right.
Johnny, what do you say to all those things that he just said?
Well, I agree with what Brad's saying. I mean, we talked earlier off camera about, I mentioned my 10 rules of barbecue. You just hit 3 or 4 of them. One of them was prepare, be prepared wherever you go, do whatever you're going to do. And the other one is, one of my rules is it ain't done till it's tender. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's simple as that. And the tenderness varies a little bit between different sanctioning organizations, depending on whether they can pick it up and eat it or cut it with a plastic fork and knife. It varies a little, not as much as people think. But and then probably the main thing that you guys are talking about is don't cook any flavors that could offend people. If you get real strong with one flavor or another. So that makes it kind of middle of the road. It's just good, solid barbecue. And I think that's what wins. If you get too exotic, you may do well once or twice here and there, but on the average, probably not as well as cooking something more probably down the middle.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your best barbecue is the judge eats it, writes down the 9 or the 10, depending on your sanctioning body, and then forgets about it.
Yeah.
Best barbecue in the world right there. That's a 9. Boom, move on.
Good. That's it. Yeah. So I've got a question for both of y'all. And this is something that I kind of play that game with, And Brad, you kind of touched on it. Like, if you don't like your barbecue, something's wrong. I love my barbecue. I think it's great. It tastes good. I could eat it. Man, I bring my brisket back and I'm eating on it for 2 or 3 days afterwards. I look at it like this, even though now Texas is a little different because we don't have trained judges. They pull people right off the street.
Sure.
So I'm cooking to what I consider is just a backyard person. These are just a backyard judge. They come off the street. They just want to eat. They're getting free barbecue. They want to eat it. I don't want to offend them and give them something that's way out of line, way balanced and off-putting taste. So I just tell people all the time, cook it like it's just good backyard barbecue. Just elevate it a little bit, make it tender, make it juicy, make it good. Do y'all agree with that? And Brad, I'll let you go a little further because you do KCBS. Even though they are trained KCBS judges, second part to the question, do you think that they are still kind of in the back of their mind a backyard? They're just a judge. They're like a backyard person that likes to eat barbecue. I'll let you go first, Brad, since it's a double question.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because that's one of the things that I will, adjust through a season is how backyard I make it, right? And so I think sometimes, like at the beginning of the year, kind of go in that backyard, we're going because you have some newer judges, you have some judges that maybe aren't necessarily, in the swing of judging. And I think that, by backyard, I mean some finishing stuff, doing the old Fred Robles Texas roll with the ribs and maybe hitting a little bit heavier with this finishing powder and a little bit more char on the chicken, stuff like that is what we're talking about. We're going backyard, maybe a little more drum flavor on the meat. And I do think that can vary from contest to contest. If you see like in KCBS, a ton of master judges walking in, then maybe you're going to kind of back those flavors off a little bit and go a little more down the middle of the road, not as backyardy, so to speak, which, by that being, less char, almost less flavor, honestly, to be honest with you. But honestly, I think in the last few years in KCBS, I think they turned a lot of judges over through COVID. And I do think that the backyard similar flavors that play in Texas have been playing up in KCBS land as well. And that's why you see guys like Phil and Bill and Fred and everybody else come up and be able to score, because I think that a lot of our judges now aren't as experienced as they were. You can go to contests and you find little pockets where you'll go into like a master judge situation and maybe it's a little bit more of the older judges. But I think a lot of them are newer judges, and those flavors, good food wins, man, and make something that's good. And you're going to be just fine.
Okay, this sounds good. Brad, Johnny, I'll let you answer.
Well, I think sometimes I kind of laugh at the term backyard barbecue. I hate to say this, but I've been to backyard barbecues before that were awful.
Yeah.
You got to be careful how you use that term.
Probably so.
I think it kind of goes with what Brad's saying. To a certain degree, you have to play to who your audience is. If it's a big fancy cook-off like Houston or even San Antonio, if you get on a table and they have a bunch of celebrity judges, they can be real tough on you. They're trained chefs, and when I say trained chef, they don't teach barbecue and culinary college. So their frame of mind is different than ours. But I still think it's just plain old good barbecue. And I've gone to famous barbecue restaurants that you've seen all over TV, and I thought they were awful. And I've been to some that you've never heard of, and they were outstanding. And so, I mean, the flavor profiles can vary a lot, but still it boils down to good barbecue is good barbecue. I mean, look at Ernest and his restaurant.
Oh,
and
yeah.
How it's taken off. Ernest was a competition. Of course, he's a chef, but Ernest is a competition cook also. And he has just really elevated that to a higher level.
Another level, yeah.
And I'm looking forward to going to Brad's places too, because I hear the same thing about them. Mm-hmm. When I saw your post, I said, "Yep, that's not the first time I've heard that about those restaurants." So
yeah,
we are good. We are not Ernest good, and I can tell you why. It's because I like to leave my restaurant. The cool thing about Ernest's place is pretty much every piece of meat that comes out of that restaurant,
He's touching it.
Ernest is touched the whole way through, and
Yeah.
I
Ernest
respect the hell
David.
out of that, but I do not want to live that life. So I aspire to be a 92% Ernest, and if
There
we
you
get
go.
that with my staff, then I'm a-okay with it. I respect the hell out of what Ernest does. My God, he's working hard.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's putting the
Ernest and
hours in.
David are very, very diligent and really they're hands on. They do what they love. That's what they want to do right now, and it's making a difference. That's for sure.
I'll send his plates to my staff, and just be like, hey, Jackwads, why doesn't our stuff look like this? And it's just, well, you got a James Beard Award-winning chef sitting there plating
Right.
everything versus my guy making, versus my part-time line cook that just got out of high school. So
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
sometimes you're looking at that, man, that looks really good. Why we got to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And there's not many people that are going to be able to do that. So
Yeah, the competition world is, of course, a different animal. And you talk about different regions of the country, but it was something that I kind of identified myself at a recent cook-off last year. I cooked at this same VFW hall several times last year, and got to thinking about, wow, man, depends on who's there as how you score, because they did several double headers, and you do really well the first day, and the second day you didn't do so well. And but the VFW hall has people from all over the country. There are veterans who settled in this area that grew up in other parts of the country, and they're going to that VFW hall now, and they may be from Maine or Virginia or California or somewhere like that, and their frame of reference for barbecue or any food period is different. So that could be a challenge. A VFW hall can be a challenge. So I just found that interesting that the scores could vary that widely from one day to another.
Yeah, 100%. And that's so true. With any of it. And like Brad, you was saying, I mean, yeah, Ernest, I've ate at your barbecue restaurant. It is a very good barbecue restaurant. It's not quite as good as Ernest's brisket because Ernest puts 18 hours in those things, and like you said, he's touching everything. And it was funny. I remember when we was at your sandwich shop and you had said something like, yeah, they don't let me go in the barbecue restaurant. They run me out because I want to be that hands-on guy that's probably like Ernest, but they're like, get out of here, you're going to mess us up.
Well, we're doing it at volume, right? So
right.
And try, we're in a tourist area, so we don't want to run out of anything.
Oh yeah.
And we're doing it, and so it's just like you got to cut corners somewhere. You have to.
Yeah.
And I, whenever I go in there, I always yell about the corners that they've chosen to cut. You know what I mean? And there's a reason why they've done that. We have very good operations people that are helping me out, that are business partners, very good operations guy, and I when I go in there, I tend to micromanage the barbecue aspect of it. So I really spend less time in getting basted. I'll go in there, I'll try the food, then I don't like to give a critique right then. I like to go talk to my operations guy and say, okay, this is what I've seen, because I don't want to go in there and freak everybody out. So
right.
100%, it's just, you've got to know. And I always tell, like with Ernest, it's like, I'm sure he'll tell you, like, you get, your first 90% takes X amount of effort, right?
Right.
The next 10% to get up to that 100% takes the same amount of effort as that next 90%. So you got to figure out where to spend your time, what you're going to do, where you're going to go, and then to be able to do it at volume. I'm not in it. I want to have a good restaurant. I want people to eat well. I want to be one of the best restaurants in Missouri. But at the end of the day, it's a business for me.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not in it for awards. I'm in it as a business. So
yeah,
that's just how it is.
And let me ask you this. I think I remember it. I'm going to ask, because when we ate at your restaurant, I did talk. You wasn't there then, and I had talked to some of your guys that was there and told them I knew you, and we did competitions and stuff. But you cook all of your stuff on Gateway drums at your restaurant, don't you?
So we did, yeah. And just this past year was the first time that we switched over to Old Hickories. We just finally had to, because
the volume.
the volume of it, and it was at the point where we were doing gateways because we liked it. I liked it better. It was more what we were doing, and then we got to a point where the volume kind of inflected, where
Right.
now we were rushing things, and
Yeah.
the quality. You know, we were doing so much meat off them, and it was so hard to do that the quality of it started to dip down.
Right.
And as soon as we hit that point, they were like, okay, let's get some old
something
hickories.
else.
And now we've got 4 old hickories out back that, you know, we were running on 10 gateway drums, and now we load up 4 old hickories
And let her rip.
all day, every day,
Yeah.
and doing what those 10 gateway drums are doing. And those guys took a lot of pride in it. So I love, they fought me to put those in there.
Right.
And now they love it, of course, because it's
yeah.
they took so much pride. Those guys were back there in the pit, but we had those gateway drums running 24 hours. I mean, you load it as full as you can load, and literally, you know, we're burning and turning, moving stuff out, and we just couldn't keep up. So.
Yeah. And there's a difference. I mean, it's hard for you to do that when you've got Ernest has got 2 500-gallon, you know, smokers. I mean, these things are long as a football field, and
Sure.
you know, burning real wood, got it going low and slow, and just, you know, the process is just going to be completely different. It's hard to turn out the same kind of barbecue that he's doing with just in volume when you're doing drums. And like you said,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
In our
amazing.
more
that you can
Casey
even
style
do it.
barbecue, it is, you know, it is what it, you know, it's not, we're not meant to be, you know, we're not trying to do a Texas brisket. We have burn ends, you know, we're Kansas City
Yeah.
style, you know,
Yeah.
our points are burn ends. I put our burn ends up against anybody in the world.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
fantastic, but we're not cooking whole packers. You know what I mean? We're cooking them split, more competition style barbecue, and for what we do, man, like you said, I think we're up there with the best.
Yeah, 100%. I have no doubt. I mean, it's probably top 5 restaurants in barbecue because we eat at several barbecue restaurants, and
I'll take that.
I'd say you in the top 5, and we've ate at a lot of barbecue restaurants. So,
I'll take
and
that.
like Johnny said, I've ate at a lot of them that were terrible. So, you
And
know,
the bar's gone up. I mean, there's a lot of people that open restaurants, but the bar's definitely gone up. You know, some of those old guards that still get the awards, those award writers get lazy. You know, they kind of look at it as what it is, and some of those old places, they're not like, you couldn't open some of those places now. You'd get run out of town. A lot of the newer places that are coming in there are really talented people that are putting them on.
Yeah, Marcio
Yeah,
said
some of those older places, if they didn't already have the name, they probably wouldn't be in business.
That's right.
100%. Yeah, Marcio.
Not
said
all of them. There's some of them that are still really good, but
Sure.
there's some of them that have been written up in magazines that honestly I thought they were awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I've ate at a couple of those. They're not real good. So Marcio says running a restaurant, you're competing every day. You know, you're just trying to stay on top of it, and especially with you, Brad, because you've got massive volume with a city like Branson. I mean, that's a completely, Seguin's a nice little small town, little controllable. You know, it's a different story when all of a sudden you got a line probably at your dadgum door from, you know.
Yeah, we're blessed, and we're full service, so we end up going until we shut it down at 11 o'clock at night. You know, I mean, we're full 11. You know, during the season, we're full from 11 in the morning until 11 at night. The only reason we don't do breakfast and we'd be full is I can't find a staff. Like my staff would shoot me. Like by the end of the season, everybody's so wrung out.
Right.
And you know, and at some point, you know, we're adding on to the kitchen. We're going to open for breakfast, so then we'll be open from 7 in the morning till 11 at night.
11 at night.
There'll be a line out the door the whole time. So we've been very blessed.
Yeah, you got to sleep. You got to sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
Joe's down there spreading lies.
Oh, look at Joe.
It is only because I'm not open right now, Joe.
Yeah, that's it. Her barbecue's way better at getting basted. Oh, that's funny.
I had to let Joe beat me at something.
You had to let him
do
mention
it competitions.
I got you.
We had to let him have, you know, he'd have his moment in the sun there with the barbecue restaurant.
Yeah. Ace said, Brad, I see you got that sandwich shop up and going. Ace, all I can tell you is, brother, you need to go because it is the best Philly cheesesteak my wife and I have ever had. I don't know what kind of bread that was, but that bread was like a marshmallow. It was the softest bread, and the steak, man, God, I mean, it had to be fresh shaved ribeye because it was so good. Yeah.
It's funny on the bread. I had to fight for it a little bit because these guys thought I was an idiot. But back when I was in college, I used to actually work in a deli. And they had these, you know, steamers lined up and down. They get the bread and they'd steam the crap out of every piece of bread that came through there. And I'm like, guys, we got to get this. We got to get this. And everybody thinks I'm the biggest idiot. Like, no, man, this is just going to add this. We started steaming it. Now they want it for everything. So just that little bit of steam softens up that bread and makes it perfect.
It was soft. I mean, it's like you just bite into it. And then, it's once again, it's just one of them texture things. Like you bite into it, it's just so soft. And right then, I mean, you again, you got your teeth into the meat yet, and you're all like, man, this is going to be so good. So, yeah, keep fighting for the things, Brad, that's good. Because, man, you've got a very good palate.
I'll put my foot down every now and then. I have to justify something, I'll be like, hey, we're going to do this. And but we've got a really good give and take with my operations guy and myself that sit there and say, okay, this is how we're going to execute it versus this is how the food's going to be. And I always have to justify, what I want to do. So it really makes me think more about, okay, we're going to put something on the menu. I can't just go get a bunch of different ingredients. He's going to make me use that ingredient in 5 different things, right? Before we can put it on the line. So I've got to fight for my spots. It's like, oh, you want a spot in the line for something new? Okay. Here it is. And so it's really a pretty cool dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, what you've got is really, really good. There's no doubt. All right. A couple questions real quick that I've seen. Everybody's loving all the little tips. Is the big green egg worth using in competition? Any of y'all ever cooked on a big green egg? Or Brad, I know you're going to say, just get a drum, be done with it.
I mean, sure, can somebody win on a big green egg? Sure. I mean, it's not that you couldn't. I mean, I would think you would be needing to have them paying you money or wanting to prove something to do it, because there's certainly easier ways to do it. But is it capable to do? Sure. Is it the best tool for the job? Probably not. And on top of that, they're hard to move. They're heavy. They're fragile. All stuff that you don't necessarily need in competition. But by all means, if you've got big green eggs and that's all you've got, and you need to go out and do a competition, then 100% you can run those things. They're super efficient. Just dial them in and smoke meat, man. It's just at the end of the day, no matter what you cook on, it's cooked to a color. Good barbecue color, and then we always wrap up till tenderness. It doesn't matter what you're cooking on. The big green egg could be that tool, but you're handicapping yourself. You're making things harder on yourself. If you're going to go out and buy a grill to do competition barbecue, that wouldn't be the one you buy, just because that's not.
Well, I remember when the big green egg got popular, and they started showing up at barbecue competitions, and after a while, they tapered off. Because of the very thing Brad's talking about, they're very difficult to move around, and after you break a couple of liners in them, it gets old. Yeah. And that's what their challenge was. They're just not suited for moving all around the country and doing competitions. Not that they'll produce good food. There's no doubt about that. It's just not the right tool for moving around all over the country trying to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. And when they get hot, they really are hard to get down. So,
and that's what you always get people looking at drums like, well, I could insulate this and make it better. It's like, well, you don't want it insulated. You're trying to turn air over, and those things are almost for smoking. They're almost too insulated. Right. You know what I memean? You sometimes you want to turn that air over. You want to get that smoke flowing through there. You want to get a little bit of air movement and some draw. And you get something that's that super insulated, then it can be counterproductive. Like you said, it'd be hard to, there's hot and fast, and those things are made to go really hot and fast.
Yeah. I mean, we get you on one of them, you may be over there at 900 degrees, Brad. So, that's right. All right, and we'll talk. I want to talk a little bit about that with the hot and fast stuff. But I've got a question, and either one of y'all can answer if you want to throw this in. Any tips on a good finishing dust? Just something that's a good all-around combination of a finishing dust that maybe works probably like on maybe ribs and brisket or ribs and chicken. Brad, you want to go first?
I already know what mine is. I was going to get Johnny's down there.
Okay, let's get Johnny first.
I'm just kidding. I can go too. So.
Well, Actually, I have a finishing dust for one for pork, one for chicken, and one for beef, and they're all homemade. I make them myself.
Okay.
I'd say homemade. Like the brisket one it's a combination of some commercial, a couple of commercial rubs, and a couple of other things that I throw in there with them, and I just grind it up. I have a burr grinder at home, and that's a tip for you. Don't use a blade grinder. Use a burr grinder. You'll get more consistent dust. Mm-hmm. But it's just you have to. For me to recommend a finishing dust to someone, it has to match what they're already cooking, what they're already using. Yeah. It has to meld together with what they've already done. Yeah. So you can't just say, well, here's the right finishing dust for brisket. It may be right for me and not right for you. So it's kind of a hard question to answer and to be honest about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you may have. I mean, what if your rubs? You're cooking a rib that's a really sweet and savory rib, and then all of a sudden you recommend a rub that's smoking guns hot and something else, and it's pretty hot. And you've got a couple other things, and that's what you like to put on yours because that's the flavor profile you like. Then all of a sudden you get somebody's flavor profile that's really messed up. Now Brad, on the other hand, he's probably going to stay pretty consistent. So what do you like, Brad?
I use the same dust on everything, and and to echo what Johnny said, it's important. Like if you're gonna make a finisher rub, the simple thing is just use what you used on the meat. I mean,
there you go.
Grind it up, maybe add a little MSG.
Right. Yeah,
a little accent in there, but use what you use on the meat, and I use the same. Since we talk about traveling, flying to contests, I use the same, basically 2 or 3 rubs on everything. So
right.
My finisher rubs I use sweet and savory, Blue Hog sweet and savory. I use a little bit of the bold and beefy, and I use some smoking guns hot.
Yeah,
and then I'll come back with a little bit of MSG in there usually, and let it roll. And so that's essentially what I use on every meat, and it just echoes what I put on the meat already.
Right.
And we.
Well, you just gave away my brisket dust. I mean.
So there we go. Good. Well, see, that's why we're winning right there. All right. But you don't overthink it, man. I mean, just like anything, I think people get in there. All these rubs are good. Obviously,
yeah.
Tim makes great rubs.
Oh, amazing rubs. Yeah.
Phil's out there, I know, in the crowd makes great. Man, Bill Purvis makes great rubs. You got people talking about Heavy Smoke makes a great rub. I'm getting ready to come out with one we're putting out that we've been using at the restaurant, whatever. They're all good rubs. I mean, you can win with any of them as long as it whatever you use, grind it up, throw it on the end, and then you're going to be fine. Yes. Yeah. There's no, and that's another thing. Everybody thinks there's a silver bullet. There's not.
Nope.
There's
no silver
bullet. There's nothing you're going to grind up and throw on your meat and make meat that's not cooked right win.
Yeah.
You know what the silver bullet is? Experience.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That's the silver bullet. Yeah. There's no substitute for getting out there and cooking and competing. Absolutely no substitute.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, you got to put the reps in. We always say that with class. You know what I mean? And the barbecue league, barbecue champs academy classes. Man, you're going to get, if you go and everything goes right and you hit everything right, you're going to win a contest if you take one of these classes. You're going to be able to do it consistently, and that's where you get people that are so frustrated in barbecue. They go out, they get a win, and then the next week they get 20th, the 23rd, or whatever. You're like, well, what's the outlier, right? Like, what's the I'm not winning every week. Well, no, you're not going to win every week. You're never going to win every week, but you're not going to be in the top 5 every week. Let's say, until you have put those repetitions in, and you're not making mistakes, or you're able to fix the mistakes you do make, and that only
consistency. Consistency of process.
That's right.
Yep.
That's really right with the burn ends. So that's it's a good call on the.
Yeah, did you say that?
You put some on there.
I'll throw it.
Joe's finally contributing.
I got hungry the first time you mentioned burn ends, and now it's even worse.
Yeah. Joe's at least giving you one credit of one thing. Gettin Basted burn in are the best in the country. So,
rumor has it that burn ends have been crushing it in those CBA boxes down there.
I've heard that. I've heard a couple people talking about the people done told me, man, if you get some CBAs.
Could be lying. They could be lying to throw us off, but you gotta be careful who you trust in this game.
That's for sure. Brad, I want to talk a little bit about the hot and fast stuff. I mean, I know you and Tim have kind of perfected that. Y'all were the first one to ever cook a freaking whole hog in less than 6 hours, which I think you blew everybody's mind on the Mega Drum a couple years ago.
Yeah.
What's your reasoning? What does it do to the meat? Let's just talk about what do you think it does to the meat as far as the actual cooking of the protein and the flavor it gives it?
It's funny because I can give you real from going from cooking on drums to cooking on old hickories in that low and slow from a hot and fast. Our yield went down significantly going to the old hickories. That was one of the biggest things. You're like, oh my God, like our yield is 10, like we're bringing the meat out. Like it's 10 or 15% less yield on a pork butt that we used to cook hot and fast on. And so that is our theory is we're trying to get the meat tender. And so there's a certain amount of a formula of time and temperature that has to happen there to get it done. Our theory is though, the faster that we can push that time, and the higher we can push that temperature to still get the tenderness right, the more moisture and the juicier and the better the meat's going to be, because
Okay.
smoking meat is an extremely harsh environment, right? And
Right.
you've got a lot of air blowing across there. You've got a lot of, your fire, you got a lot of heat, you got everything else. And it's as quick as we can get done what we need to get done and then get it out of that environment, the better the meat's going to be. And I think most people are cooking hot and fast now, and I think that's been borne out that getting stuff done does lead to a little bit more juicier product, and obviously we're getting the flavor from the fat dripping on the coals. Those are byproducts that are great from the drums themselves cooking hot and fast. But the hot and fast deal is, and I've got proof, man. I got proof in my bottom line that the yield, there's more moisture in a piece of meat that is finished hot and fast than is cooked low and slow. Now that means you come back, add it in some other way, do whatever. I mean, I don't think it makes a bad product, obviously low and slow, but that's just kind of always been our theory. And we used to, push it, we'd race. And there is such a thing as too hot and too fast, where you're just not quite getting the tenderness right.
Right.
But as quick as you can get it done and get it off that smoker, the better off you're going to be with a piece of meat, cooking hot and fast.
So what about like brisket and pork butt, big meats? Are you in excess of 350, or is that kind of your target, or
range? It's a little misleading on a drum. You've kind of got a couple different temperatures or a couple different dynamics that you're working with. You're working with the temperature on the drum, which is going to be on the dial, which we call it 300 or strong 300. So we're between 300 and 350 usually. But the drum's also then got the direct element, right? Yeah. And that's more of that you can see that manifest itself basically on the velocity of the smoke exiting the stack. And, kind of your draw and how much you're pushing through there. And so people don't believe me when you sit there and say, I tell you that the number on the dial matters less than the number of, how that drum is drawing. Right. And so our 325 is probably more, if you were going to do it on a stick burner, or if you were going to do it on a pellet cooker, is probably more like low 400s.
Right.
To mimic it. So we are at 300, 325 on a drum, but that's a direct heat. And that direct heat element makes it cook, more like a low 400 temperature.
Right. Yep. I can see that, because you got radiant heat. I mean, anytime you're cooking over that charcoal like that, you got a lot of radiant heat. And I tell people all the time, there's a difference between a temperature on a gauge and radiant heat.
Yeah, absolutely. And the temperature on the gauge lies to you. I mean, people will not believe me until they say they have to get like we're talking about experience. And finally, it clicks with them. It just says, and that's when people get into micromanaging on the drum, right? So they sit there and they start worrying about that number on the dial more than they're worried about the thing that matters, which is the draw. And so we always pay attention to how that velocity of the exit, how the smoke is coming out of the stack. How does that look? Use your senses. You can hear the grease dripping on the fire. You can hear the little, the pss, pss, pss. You can get your visual notes of how that meat's cooking. The number on the dial doesn't necessarily matter, but what happens is people sit there and look at it and they'll say, oh man, I'm at 350. They dial it down. What they do, they made a real small fire. Right. And so now they've actually cooled it down, even though it may take it an hour for it to drop down. Right. They've actually immediately killed that fire off. So they changed the dynamics of the drum. Then, now it's down at 250. They open it wide up. Now they've got it barreling. Yeah. And you've got it going. And this is another reason why we don't use temperature controls, because that's essentially what you're doing on a temperature control on a drum is you're blowing air on the fire. Big fire. You're shutting the air off, little fire. Right. And so you may be dead on the whole time. And that thing, man, I use temperature control, never moves from 300. You're right. But you know what you're doing? You're blowing big fire. And you're going little fire, you're actually creating these huge oscillations in temperature that you're intending to even out. And even though that needle says it's 300 completely, it's not 300. It's not 300. So that's just, the dynamics of the drum is just cooking hot and fast is really going to be something more important than the temperature on the dial.
Absolutely. What do you cook on, Johnny? What kind of cook are you on?
I cook on, I have 2 gateway drums. Okay. And an offset. And I cook my brisket strictly on the offset.
Okay.
And I'll start quite high. I'm talking 450.
Oh wow.
To begin with, and then as the fire dies down, I'll let it die down to around 325 to 350. So I'm cooking really hot. Right. For an offset especially. And then the other 3 meats I do on the drums, solely on the drum. Okay. And wow. Pretty much what Brad is saying, doing it the same way. And I really like the flavor off of the drum. I still like being old school on the offset for the brisket, but the ribs and chicken and pork coming off of a drum, in my opinion, are hard to beat. Really hard to.
We'll get you switched over to brisket too.
I knew Brad was going to work that one in there.
The trailer I have right now, I don't have room for another drum, but I'm working on that.
There you go.
and those guys, I mean, you know, I remember the hardest I've ever laughed. I mean, I can't remember. It's probably been 2016, 2017. We were all in Las Vegas at the end of the year. Maybe it's 18. I can't remember. We're all out there, and Darren and Travis and all. You see Darren sitting out there doing everything he can to make his Jambo run like a can without buying a can. And it's just, right. We were giving him just all the 20 shades of crap because he's trying to turn the temperature up and he's going to move it here and he's got all this stuff. And you're trying to
be a drum cooker, ain't you?
What you're trying to do, but you don't. You got to have a Jambo.
Yeah,
and so it's pretty funny when all those guys started turning up their stick burners. You know what I mean? Yeah. They started cranking them up, and they used to light them at like 2:30 when I came in. Everybody lit the Jambo at 2:30, and then now it's now they're lighting them at 4:30 or 5.
Yeah,
and so it's been really fun to watch, and unfortunately, and we always joke around that everybody's like, oh, barbecue's not what it once was, and that Tim and Brad have ruined barbecue, and they don't realize the real reason is now everybody goes to bed at night. Used to stay up all night drinking. Now everybody's at bed because they get up at 6 in the morning to cook now.
Yeah,
so it has completely changed the way barbecue contests are.
Oh, it's there, and obviously I've got a Cadillac cooker. It was made in Sikeston, Missouri. You probably know the guy that was up there. So it's a custom-made rotisserie. It's got a big insulated firebox. I said, man, the little pipe don't work. I need a big firebox where we get some oxygen in this thing. And he made me exactly what I want. And we spun it up. It turns 2 RPMs a minute, so it's a little bit faster. So it really moves the heat and smoke in it. And I don't know. We was up in Arkansas cooking. I guess back in October sometime. Man, drum cookers everywhere. 7th place brisket drum cooker, 3rd place brisket drum cooker, and our 4th place brisket was a drum cooker. 3rd place brisket was a drum cooker. I forgot who it was. I think it was Nakia White. He was like, Mike, I can get you a good deal on a drum if you want to get one. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. All these drum cookers are killing me. And they called 1st place brisket, and I looked at my ticket, and Jason White was next to me, and I said, you go ahead and keep that drum. I'm going to stick with this rotisserie one more time, brother. So I don't know. I don't know. It does good for me, and I've kind of figured out how to make it work good on that rotisserie. So
this past weekend at Hold'em and Hit 'em, I cooked my brisket on a offset just like I always do, and it was 1st place brisket. Beat a lot of drums.
Yeah,
but I'm not that it'll do it every time.
No, it won't do it every time.
No, it won't do it every time.
There's a million ways we were just talking. There's a million ways to skin a cat, man. I mean, there's
absolutely.
There's no wrong way to barbecue.
No,
and I love stick burners. I have, I've got a Jambo sitting in my garage. I love them. I just don't want to work that hard at the contest. That's the only reason I don't break it out. I mean, I made a contest to cash a check. You know what I mean? I'm not there to prove a point. But if I want to sit around and have a good time and feed a fire all night, which sometimes you want to, man, that's how we all got into it, right? Sometimes you feel like sitting there feeding the fire. And if I want to do that, man, I'll fire up a stick burner because that's
I'm gonna tell you
what we got into.
At 27 degrees Saturday morning, that stick burner was eating some wood. And I had my 2 drums. They were just sitting there Cadillacing. So
yeah.
I mean, I love the way the gateways cook.
Yeah, there's
easy. And the cool thing is, like this weekend, I'm going to Lakeland, Florida, and I'm not taking anything with me. I can fly out, and they all cook the same. And I know Jambos do too. Jambos a little harder to get a $10,000 pit than a trash can. So it's pretty cool because that allows us. We've got drums stashed in storage units and everything else, and I know what I'm getting. I'm getting a gateway drum, and that's the cool thing about it. So I can go out there and sucker somebody in the loaning me a drum and go out and cook any contest. So it makes it really nice.
You notice how he said that? We'll sucker somebody, give me a drum so I can go get that grand champion, baby.
They're still letting me. At some point, it's kind of funny because I went out to Massachusetts. It was a week before the Royal, and everybody's like, "Hey, man, you're going to do a double flat to Massachusetts." I'm actually working less because I had my gear sitting in the trailer,
right,
all locked and loaded and ready to roll up to the Royal, right? And I went out got somebody else's stuff all dirty. And got to fly home. I didn't have to do anything. It was the easiest turnover in the world, right? I didn't have to do anything. I just had my trailer was already ready to go. I just pulled it up, grabbed some meat, and then drove up to Kansas City. So
that is so funny.
It was actually easier for me to fly to a contest and cook and mess somebody else's gear up.
That's right.
And I appreciate all of you, everybody that's loaned me stuff. Reagan down there in Texas, my Texas guy, Don Cook does me out down in the Southeast, and we've got the stuff out in Vegas, Vegas, California. Sterling Ball helps me a lot when I go out to California, and everybody's helping me. And I got Bill from Smoking Hogs helping me out this weekend down in Lakeland. So it's great to have a good network, and Gateway Drum Cooks, man, they like to help each other out. So I always allows me to do what I do. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Johnny, where are you cooking next, man?
Well, I'm sitting in San Antonio right now, so I'm doing the San Antonio Rodeo this weekend.
Okay.
Really, this is actually our favorite cook-off. We have more fun at this cook-off than any of the rest of them, and it's actually like the third largest in the country. It's bigger than Houston as far as number of teams.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't realize that, but it's just a fun cook-off. We've been doing it since 2014, and have a lot of good memories here.
That's good.
I just want to win it one time. I've finished third twice and seventh once, and I'd like to win the damn thing now.
Hey, I tell you what, you're coming off a pretty deadgum strong outing. I mean, you had a first, a second, a fourth, and what did you have in chicken? Like a
chicken was 24th. I screwed it up. It was right. I made a rookie mistake. I'm not even going to say what it was, but I made a rookie mistake, and I paid for it. And I looked at the chicken scores, and the span between 24th and first was pretty damn narrow. Wow. And I didn't feel too bad, but I could have prevented that had I paid attention. Yeah. And that focus is my number one. Focus and prepare, number one rule of barbecue. Right. And when I was making my sauce, I didn't focus and left out a step.
Yeah, it sometimes can happen. So
that happens to all of us, but I'm not happy when I do it. I have higher expectations of myself than that.
Right. Brad, where are you cooking next?
I'm going Lakeland, Florida. I'm going to head down there. Yeah, I kicked San Antonio around, but I don't know, man. I'm sticking with KCBS realm this weekend. Yeah. So I'd like to cook it at some point. I cooked Austin last year. I like cooking down there. I think I'm going to come back to Cedar Park, KCBS this year down in Texas. And
I'll be at Austin again.
Okay. Yeah. I did a lot of hand setting. I think I got a call for sauce, like I can't even remember, like maybe second sauce or something like that, and set on my hands this time. But that happens sometimes.
It's fun. There's no doubt.
Yeah, we had the Texas Chrome Heroes Foundation, and we had 5 spots there last year, and we got quite a few calls.
Yeah,
we did well.
I remember that. Let's see, hold them and hit them. Had some very high scores on one of my rib table and ended up with 14th. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, goodness gracious. Brad, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Barbecue League, where they can sign up for that and stuff while we got everybody on here?
Yeah, go hit the bbqleague.com, and it's just an online a subscription, classes, community. We've got some live stuff coming this year, kind of break the news here. Everybody down in Florida, before the Daytona 500, we're going to have kind of a VIP night down there at Proud Souls in Orlando. But we're going to try to do a few more live events this year. But there's a ton of tell-alls. There's a ton of good recipes. There's some discounts. You name it. There's some forums and some groups. I'm guessing there's a lot of people in here. You see somebody that's probably winning barbecue contests. They're probably in the Barbecue League. Bill Purvis has got some stuff on there. Me, Tim, Joe Pierce is on there quite a bit. You got Heavy Smoke, Chris Schaefer on there. Just talking barbecue and giving out recipes. So most recently, Joe Pierce and I had a little fun at a contest here in Springfield, Missouri last year. Joe ended up getting lucky and winning it, but I wanted to get all that on video. We got the whole thing on video. And I normally try to throw, like when I do these things at contests, I want to win, and I try to throw a camera at somebody that I'm trying to throw out of the game.
Right.
The year I won the Jack, we were sitting there. We had Mark Suarez, the soul sucker, as Fred calls him, down there at the Jack Daniels, and I put Mark on Tim to take Tim out completely out of the chance to end up winning the Jack. But Joe Pierce in the Ozarks one, if you get on there and look, one of the first person to win a contest. Other than us at Memphis in May, we've had tremendous luck with Mark Suarez at Memphis in May. We've got those entire cooks on there. Our whole Memphis cooks from the last 3 years are on the barbecue league, and it's a subscription service. You can do it monthly, which is $8.99 a month, or you can pay $100, you get a whole year. So anyway, great service. Get on there and check it out. You got any questions, you can send me a message or just get on there and check out the website and sign up.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. All right, so we got a lot of folks on here. We got our 20 backyard barbecue class giveaway that we're going to do on this podcast. So the way that this was work, I'm going to ask one question. The first person that I see get the answer correct on my screen. I don't care what y'all screen says. I got to go by what I see on my screen. My stuff is where it's streaming from. Yours may be delayed, and I can only go by what I see, not what's on your screen. So I'm going to ask the question. The first person that gets the answer correctly will get our 20 championship backyard barbecue recipes. If you've already got a class, let me know. I'll add it to your account. If you don't, I will create an account and put it in there. You got the classes for 1 month. All right, so we're about to ask the question. Let me make sure I've got the question that I want to ask. What city is the barbecue capital of the world? What city is the barbecue capital of the world? First person that gets this right.
Man.
Yeah, there's one of them that if you check it, it's pretty predominant. All right, I see we got the first person that's already got it. Y'all can stop right now. Don't need to keep going. Kansas City is correct. Kansas City is the barbecue capital of the world. And you didn't know that? I
can't believe nobody put Branson. Come on.
I love it.
You guys.
All right, Lane Gilbo, you are the winner. I don't know if you've ever bought a class. I don't recognize the name. So if you have not got a class, I'm going to take a picture of your name so I don't forget. Lane, what I need you to do is email me, bbqchampions@gmail.com, bbqchampions@gmail.com. I need your first and last name, and I need your email address, and tomorrow I'll come in, and I will set up an account for you. If you've already got an account, you can just let me know you've already got one, and I'll add those classes to you. You got a month to watch them. And email me, Lane, once again, bbqchampions, plural, @gmail.com. First and last name, just put in the subject line, won the free class, and then I'll get you hooked up. So, oh, goodness gracious. I always like doing that. I always like to help the people out and see what they can do. And we're getting away from some of the barbecue competition trivia and just trying to get some of the regular questions that we may not know. So, anyway, well, I appreciate y'all being on here tonight. Brad, man, you're a very accomplished cook. There's no doubt you have absolutely one of the greatest barbecue guys probably in the last several years to be out there. You pretty much are consistent wherever you go, and it's pretty cool watching your journey in barbecue. I know you got 5 GCs already for the Jack. I know you said you're not going to chase it, but I got a feeling if you get 6, you're going to go for 7. So,
well, I mean, I'm not going to not. I'm not going to cook as much this year as I did last year.
Right.
If it comes to me, I'm not going to sit there and just, I'm not going to kill myself over it.
I don't blame you.
Obviously, I'd like to go to the Jack. Everybody wants to go there, but
yeah.
I'll just cook ones that pop up or they're close and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you got any sponsors that you want to thank, go ahead at this time.
I don't want to thank. I mean, I got obviously Prairie Fresh is a very good sponsor to me, and Snake River Farms. I was going to say I don't want to give Tim any more
airtime than he deserves.
I mean, I'm a freaking walking commercial for that man.
You are.
Know what I mean? I can't even get him to buy me a beer.
Oh my gosh!
It's that's what I always tell him. I'll call him up and say, hey man, I made another commercial for you.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's just, it is what it is. So I get Tim needs more money, so everybody go buy a Gateway drum.
That's it.
Blues Hall. He's got 3 kids, need to go to school.
That's right. All right. Johnny, go ahead, brother. We're going to get this thing off because Bill Purvis' show is kicking off here any minute or just about done. We're always going to try to get our show off by the time Bill starts. We're about 3 or 4 minutes late. Go ahead, brother. You got any sponsors you want to thank, Johnny?
Well, yeah, the only spot we're self-sponsored, Bourbon Cowboy Cookers is, but I'll throw some out there for the Texas Chrome Heroes Foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got CK&R cabinets, Kintex roofing systems, JC Communications, K&R pipeline, First Class Barbecue with old Robert Smith, Donald Wilhelm, the barbecue store there in Hempstead, Icy Tech Coolers, Patrick Mudge and his group, First Chance Foundation, SAS Towing, and First Class RV Repair by good buddy Brandon Davis. Some great supporters, and some of those people are board members of the Texas Chrome Heroes Foundation, and that's kind of the story for us this past year is working these new recipes and getting it, sharpening our edge so we can have something good to pass on to these veterans and first responders who are suffering with PTSD. That's why we do what we do.
That's a great thing y'all are doing. I've always been behind Joey on doing that, and it is awesome. Well, I do appreciate both of y'all being on. Well, we've had a great show tonight. Don't forget, guys, I'm going to drop it in the comments one more time. Be sure to go over to the link that I just put up. It's BBQ Champs Academy Facebook page. So if you haven't already done so, click the link that I just dropped. Go over there, subscribe to our page, because we're going to be making, hopefully, the transition off of Facebook and where we're just streaming on YouTube. Be sure also to go check our good buddy, Mr. Bill Purvis, Chicken Fried Barbecue. He's going live right now. His guest tonight's Mr. Fred Robles. And also on there is going to be Philip Breeden as well. Brad, congratulations, man, on the success you've had. Keep it rolling, brother. Johnny, huge congratulations to you this weekend. Good luck that the thirds are going to become a first this weekend, brother. So y'all have a good one. Everybody have a good one. We enjoyed everybody being with us tonight. And as we always close out our videos, y'all go out there. Have a lot of fun.